Hello and welcome to the 12th episode of the Addiction Free Naturally podcast. My name's Graeme Hoppitt. Welcome from wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today, we're going to talk about meaning, and specifically, what are you making major events in your life mean, or what are you making addiction mean for you? So let's get stuck in. Let's escape the prison that addiction leaves us in by understanding what meaning we're actually putting on things. You see, there's one question that you can really use to help you. And in fact, it comes down to one word, and that one word is meaning. And it will help you get through anything, any challenge, because challenges are an inevitable part of our life, aren't they? You know, we know that given the last 18 months or more in this pandemic now, and I know it's affecting different people in different ways around the world. So we know things are going to happen. But when you ask, what am I making this mean? It will help you no end, because you could have a massive problem, and that problem could be addiction. That's probably why you're here, but it could be anything in your life. So it could be like, is this the end? You know, does this really mean the end for me? Or actually, could this be the beginning? So it's the meaning that you put on it. And once you come up with a meaning, you know, it might be where you feel that life is falling apart right now because of your addiction and you don't have any direction, but maybe there's something better waiting for you on the other side of your addiction. So therefore, you can look at it from a completely different way if you only examine the meaning that you're putting on something. And you can literally reevaluate and literally reinvent your life and have a completely different life within 90 days. That's a fact, seriously. So what am I making this mean? That's a question you need to ask yourselves. Now, a great example really from one of my mentors, Marissa Peer, the celebrity therapist. She used to work with thousands of women, and men as well, but specifically an example she gave is as many as 25% of her clients actually have been abused in some way. And she gave an example of two polar opposite views given by two women clients who were both sadly raped. I mean, obviously that's a hideous crime. But the two events, the women put very different perspectives, meaning on it, which enabled them to develop and grow out of it quicker. One really felt that her life was over. You know, she'd been violated. Her life was sort of really broken up. She felt her life was over. But another woman actually said, God, I'm lucky. I was only penetrated by a penis and it wasn't a knife. And I will never forget that story that Marissa Peer gave all those years ago on my training, because that showed how the meaning can enable you to get through something with ease. I'm not saying it's easy to get over rape, but it's easier if you put a better meaning on it, is what I'm trying to say there. So the meaning you put on an event is going to give you a better chance to get through it, or keep you stuck where you are. And another example was Joseph McLennan. And I met this guy. When I say I met him, I didn't meet him personally. He was on stage at a Tony Robbins event about 18 years ago. And he gave an example of where his mother had been told she only had a few months to live. And Joseph McLennan said to the doctors, no way I'm going to allow you to tell my mother that, because that's like a death sentence. So he literally refused to allow the doctor to tell his mother that. Instead, he took his mother home. And you can validate this story on YouTube. It's out there. It's common knowledge. He took his mother home. He allowed her to listen to happy sort of videos, comedy videos, keep her spirits up, keep her happy. And yes, she died, but she didn't die for something like another 10 years. So the meaning that you put on something, the meaning that we take on board and ingrain into our subconscious mind, can really create our reality. And Joseph knew that if his mum had been told that she only had a few months to live, well, she probably would have only had a few months to live. But by not knowing that, and therefore by not ingraining it in every cell of her being, it enabled her to get on with her life, and she lived a much longer, many, many years, happier life. So the meaning is everything. So let's ask that question. What meaning are you making certain events in your life? And in particular, what meaning are you making addiction, or what are you making addiction mean for you right now? Because that will determine your level of success, in my opinion, on overcoming it. Humans, we're all meaning-making machines. We make meanings of everything. We're putting interpretations on every event that happens to us. And a great quote by Dr. Joe Vitale is, the meaning that you gave an event is the belief that attracted it. And what that means is, like, our beliefs, which are, most of them are subconscious, where we're working on autopilot, they are creating the meaning that you put on events, which are therefore going to determine your outcomes. Now, I was making addiction a life sentence, because I was going on to 12-step meetings, and I was being told that really addiction was like a lifetime sentence, that once an addict, always an addict. So therefore I was putting that meaning on it. And it was only by chance that I come across a report by a British journalist around drug addiction, and drugs was not my thing. But I took such a great lesson from this, because he spoke about if all drugs were, if addiction purely come from the drug itself, then every grandma that went in hospital for a hip replacement, they'd come out a druggie, because they would be given morphine to overcome the pain. But we know that people go into hospital, they do have morphine, but most of them come out, they're not drug addicts, are they? And that enabled me to put a different meaning on addiction. So that was my turning point for me. And what I'm hoping is, like, by understanding what meaning means and what meaning you're putting on things can be your turning point in your life and in your journey out of addiction. See, we've got millions of pieces of information coming into our mind, and therefore our mind is filtering all that information through our senses. We're visual, kinesthetic, and remember, there's actually two kinesthetics. There's how you feel internally, your feeling, and how you feel, how you can touch something. You've got your auditory, what you're hearing, gustatory, and olfactory. Now, so all of these external inputs are going through all of our senses. And then as human beings, our tiny little minds are then trying to analyze all of that. So some of the information we delete, some of it we distort, and some of it generalize. And that's why as human beings, the two people can go to the same event and we've still got different recollections of it, because we're putting all of these experiences, all our memories, every interpretation, beliefs, and our values, and literally put through our senses. And therefore we're all going to come up with a different interpretation of everything, and that is called our internal representation. It's our view of the world. So your view of the world would be different than mine, and mine would be different than the next person's, because we're all using our senses in different ways. We've all got different experiences. And remember that lots of our beliefs have come from our indoctrinations, how we were brought up in that very early period from our caregivers. So therefore, all of this is going through our internal representation system, and therefore we put our own meaning on it. And then we're going to behave, we're going to do things and feel things according to that internal representation. And the quote by Brian Tracy really sums it up. The person we believe ourselves to be will always act in a manner consistent with the self-image, with our self-image, which is also relates to, my favorite quote by Maxwell Maltz, where it's, you'll never outperform your self-image. Our internal beliefs, our self-identity is driving our lives. So when we look at our unconscious identity or subconscious identity, and those two terms are interchangeable, our self-image is like, it's almost like a mask we're wearing. How do you perceive yourself to be? really at a really deep level. Because you could say, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly. You hear people say they're wealthy or they're poor. I'm successful, I'm a failure, I'm a winner, I'm a loser. I'm intelligent or I'm stupid. Whatever you've got at the deepest level in your subconscious identity is how you're going to live your life. And that is going to then determine the meaning you put on things, which is equally going to drive your behaviors and everything else. We're all looking through, you see, these invisible lenses. Now, I've worn contact lenses and glasses for the last probably 30 years now. But the purpose of any lens is to change what is viewed. Now, you guys and girls may not wear glasses or contact lenses, but I'm pretty sure most of you would have worn sunglasses at some stage in your life. And when you look through sunglasses, you get a different view. You've got that tint, haven't you? Well, that's our invisible lens, because after a time, you don't realize you're looking through it. You don't sort of walk around thinking, I'm wearing the sunglasses, I'm wearing sunglasses, I'm wearing sunglasses, or I'm wearing contact lenses or my normal glasses. You don't think. You're just looking through a lens. It's invisible to you. So therefore, every one of us are looking through our life experiences through these invisible lenses. So we're all seeing things from a different perspective because we've all got our own invisible lenses. Does that make sense? Yeah. So whether you realize it or not, you're looking through an invisible lens, and that lens could be anything. So we give meaning and interpretations based on the lenses that we're looking through. And my lenses will be different than your lenses. And interpretations are why two people can have the same life event, but they have a very different personal experience. So that could be going to a party, two people going to a party, one likes it, one hates it. Or it could be that horrible example really of two women who have been raped, and one really thinks their life is over, and one actually thinks, well, I was lucky I wasn't stabbed with a knife. So interpretations come from the lenses and the meaning we're putting on everything. So what invisible lenses are you looking through? Because that is going to impact your recovery from addiction. If you're looking through a lens that you believe that addiction is for life, that's the meaning you put on it. That's going to impact your reality and the way maybe your recovery goes. And there's going to be solutions to everything, but it's just understanding what are your lenses. You've got to be clear about what are the lenses you're looking for and what meaning you're putting on things. So what meaning and interpretations are you making on major events in your life right now? And what meaning and interpretations are you making on your drug addiction or your drinking problem or your gambling? What are you making that mean? And most importantly, do the meanings and interpretations that you're putting on events in your life, do they serve you? Because most of the time, you'll find that if you've got a challenge in life and you're not moving forward, it means you're putting a meaning on it that is not serving you. And this is affecting, it's not just affecting addicts. I mean, this podcast is aimed at addicts, but we're all people. So therefore, these meanings are going to affect the success in life you have, whether you're rich or poor. It's going to impact relationships, the ageism, sexism, religion. So what invisible filter are you looking through that's impacting areas of your life? And then these will also impact your addiction in some way, because we're all looking at things through different lenses. So relationships could be a big one, particularly when you're an addict, that you've affected your family. I hear comments every day like, I feel stuck, my life sucks, I just can't seem to get ahead, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I feel invisible, no one listens to me, it's like I'm not here. And you can change, once you start changing the meaning, it would change your life. So do you see how by changing the meaning on different things in your life will have a real positive impact on where you are, particularly on your addiction, because it isn't the end of the world. You can absolutely overcome addiction naturally in 90 days. You just need the right tools to do it. But the first thing is the awareness and looking at the meaning that you're putting on your addiction right now. An analogy I find really useful is an analogy for our mind and brain. Our mind, which is different from our brain. So the mind could be the software and the brain is the hardware. And your brain is your subconscious mind. It's the computing power. And what's happening is you've got a virus in it. It's like an internal computer virus within your internal computer. And that's because you've got all these programs and beliefs around addiction. And remember, we spoke about really the addiction is just a symptom. What you've got to get to is the root cause. And that's within all this coding, it's part of the virus. So you need to clear out the root cause problem, because then your addiction will dissolve. A great way of looking at this is all this meaning is coming from our unconscious identity and it's driving you. We know that. And it's a bit like we've got an internal thermometer. It's like a set point, like a thermostat. We've got an upper limit and a lower limit. And we go through life and, we never go below a certain level in any area of our life, but we never go above it. So we're in this sort of comfort zone. And this impacts all areas of our life. And this is, where we self-sabotage, because we've got this set inner point controlled by our subconscious identity. And it impacts your health, your relationships, your career, your business, money. And that's also, you've got this set point for your addiction. Maybe you'll get to a certain day sober and then you crash back down, because in your mind, you might think, well, addiction's forever, for life. So therefore, you're always going to be an addict. Does that make sense? It's like you get clean for 60 days and then you crash back down, because you've got this set point in your mind that I don't think I'll ever get past 60 days or 90 days, whatever it might be for you. So what are your set points in life? What is the thermostat in your mind set to? Because this is your internal software. This is these programs that you're running on automatically. And maybe it's like you feel you're not good enough, or you're always rejected, or you feel different than other people, or certain things aren't available to you, or you always feel sad. So it's what are your set points? Are you only allowed to be so happy? Or you're only allowed so many days of sobriety before you crash? And this all comes down to the meaning that you're putting on things. Your thoughts can literally be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy in your recovery and in life generally. That's that voice in the back of your head going off, that inner critic saying, you can't do that. You've never done that before. What makes you think you're good enough to do that? What makes you think you could be sober? You've been an addict for years. You're never going to be sober. But you can change all that. You can absolutely make your thoughts the most powerful thing you have. Remember, in a previous podcast, we spoke about you're not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And once you recognize that, you can really have influence over your life. You are the one creating the meaning. You are the thinker of your thoughts. So you are the one placing meaning on events in your life. So what meaning are you making certain events in your life right now? Whether that's relationship or addiction. But specifically, what are you making addiction mean? Because when you change the meaning, your life will change. And I can absolutely guarantee you that. And the solution is to start transforming from the inside out, to really start doing the internal work, to really commit 100% and take 100% responsibility for getting to the root cause of your addiction, changing the meaning, and doing whatever needs to be done to get out, because you're going to attract more of who you are becoming. And in a previous podcast, I think it was podcast 3, we spoke about the be, do, have model. Who must I be? What must I do so that I can have what I want on the other side? So who do you need to be that person who is no longer an addict? Who do you need to be an ex-addict? Who do you need to be and what do you need to do? Maybe you need to do hypnotherapy. Maybe you need to go to the 12-step meetings every week instead of only once a month. Maybe you need to meditate. So what do you need to do so you can have what you want, i.e. a life being an ex-addict, a non-drinker, a non-gambler, a non-drug taker, a non-sex addict, whatever it might be for you, because you're going to attract more of who you're becoming. So the meaning you're putting on everything is key. And you can literally then, once you've started to put new meaning, you can reprogram your subconscious mind, your subconscious identity, because all of those upsets, all of those deep emotional core wounds that you hold in, the blocks and issues, you can overcome it with hypnosis. You can go through a repatterning process, which will taught your subconscious mind to actually overcome those blocks. You can change everything with repetition. So those two things, hypnosis and repetition, in my mind, are the two key things that you can do, because you can then become that ex-addict, that non-drinker, the non-gambler. You can believe you're more than enough, because you are more than enough. You matter. Your life matters. You matter to someone. And it's about creating that growth mindset, that success mindset. Whatever success means to you, success can be, overcoming addiction. But what I find with myself and other clients is actually once you overcome addiction, your life opens up. So you start to create an extraordinary life, a different life, a better life. So keep going, because everything you are or everything you're not, everything you do or don't do is a reflection of your inner world. It's a reflection of that inner identity. And that inner identity is coming from what you're thinking and the meaning that you're putting on things. Your thoughts are going to attract things into your life, but they'll also repel things in your life. So it's key that you look at what you're thinking, because you'll attract more of it. So you need to think about the meaning that you're making of things, because how you think creates how you feel, and how you think and feel is what you will attract in your life and in your recovery. Remember, the words that we say to ourselves and the pictures we create in our head create our realities. That was drummed into me by my mentor when I was studying hypnotherapy, and it's a great message. That is the truth. Remember that your mind is like a garden. Yeah. And you need to fertilize that by watering it with kind thoughts. Be compassionate, be kind to yourself. Look at the meaning that you're putting on things. Look at the growth mindset, the growth thoughts which are taking you towards your recovery rather than the thoughts that are keeping you stuck. Cultivate empowering meanings. Your life might be a mess right now. So if we flick back to the beginning, it's about saying, well, okay, my life is a mess, but it can be a blessing. I can recreate myself. You can literally reinvent your life in 90 days. You can overcome your addiction in 90 days if you look at the meaning that you're making your addiction what it means. So look at the meaning and change that meaning to an empowering meaning, one that serves you, one that serves your recovery. So look, today's session has all been about meaning. It's like, what are you making your addiction mean? Because when you're clear, you can really move forward. And at the start, I was making my addiction mean a life sentence. But when I understood it didn't need to be, and I could change my meaning, that opened up a different perspective. And you can do exactly the same. So look at the meaning you're making things mean, not just your addiction, but any area of your life, whether it's relationships or anything, any challenges. Just ask yourself, what am I making this mean? Because when you put a different meaning, when you put a different interpretation, your life will change. It's been a pleasure serving you again today. The things that I do on a daily basis are meditation, listening to my hypnosis recordings, deep breathing. They're just 3 basics that I do every day, and they serve me well. I'm here to serve. If I can help in any way, please contact me. You can access me through LinkedIn or Facebook or my email, graham@graemehoppitt.com. But I'm here to serve you in any way I can. Keep listening to these podcasts because it is about repetition. When you listen and listen and listen, the penny will drop that actually if one person can overcome addiction, another one can. And there's loads of examples of people that have overcome addiction naturally. Remember the story of Roger Bannister when he broke the 4-minute mile. People have been trying to break the 4-minute mile for hundreds and hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. But when he done it, it opened the floodgates. So look at the evidence. There's enough evidence out there. There's enough science, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, neurogenesis that we can change the way our brains have been affected by addiction. So you can absolutely change your life. And it starts with your thoughts and the meaning that you're putting on events. It's been a pleasure serving you today, all the way from Metro Manila. I wish you the best wherever you are in the world to your transformation. Graeme Hoppitt. Have a great, great day.